U.S. President Joe Biden announced on Thursday that his government will release 1 million barrels of oil per day from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve for the next 6 months. This is part of Biden administration's efforts to keep the oil prices under control amid the raging war in Ukraine. More in this next report.
This is a moment of consequence and peril for the world, and pain at the pump for American families.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday addressed rising gasoline prices, which have soared during Russia's war with Ukraine, by launching the largest release ever from the U.S. Emergency Oil Reserve.
Today, I'm authorizing the release of 1 million barrels per day for the next 6 months, over 180 million barrels. It will provide a historic amount of supply for a historic amount of time, a 6-month bridge to the fall.
The release of crude oil from the country's strategic petroleum reserve will more than cover oil exports to the U.S. from Russia, which Biden banned this month. The president also called on Congress to make oil companies pay a fee if they are sitting on thousands of unused oil and gas leases and wells on public lands.
I'm calling for a use it or lose it policy. This is the time, not the time to sit on record profits. It's time to step up for the good of your country.
Biden estimated that the release of U.S. oil reserves could push down gas prices anywhere from 10 cents to 35 cents per gallon, depending on how much allies and partners also release from their reserves. The announcement comes as part of a broad effort by Biden to tackle raging inflation that has hurt U.S. consumers and threatens Biden's fellow Democrats as they seek to maintain control of Congress in the November elections.
We're still on that, and WION correspondent Susan Teherani has sent us this report from New York.
President Joe Biden's announcement to release about an additional 180 million barrels of oil from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve would leave an already depleted reserve to around 388 million barrels, the lowest level since March 1984. The plan is to combat soaring oil prices, which the White House has tried to justify with the catchphrase Putin's price hike. And while some of those prices are the result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, only 6% of Americans blame that invasion for the inflation. After all, they do remember that prices were already going up before the war in Ukraine. The president also called on Congress to force oil companies to pay fees for unused leases, accusing energy producers of, quote, hoarding wells on federal land. But oil companies say that granting these leases and getting them is only a first step in a long process of then going and investigating where to see whether or not there is actual fossil fuel in the land to extract. They feel demonized and they feel punished. After the announcement, energy industry representatives criticized the president for short-sightedness. They said that this solution is only short-term and that it is not a long-term solution to the current crisis. They hope that the president would open up land and business so that American energy companies can work freely on producing oil. Also, the president did receive some pushback from Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill. Susan Teherani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.